Welcome to another RES Wave XLM price action update. So, since I posted my previous few videos, especially the one on XLM, I've had quite a few views, mostly XLM. So, it's clear that this channel has become mostly XLM centric, which is okay because it's the only one that I've actually given some kind of price prediction where you can pick it up pretty cheap. And I have said quite clearly in my previous video that we are in a wave C now. Okay, we're in wave C, and you can see that the price action has actually started to confirm wave 3 price action, wave 3 to the downside. Now, is it any coincidence that wave 3 down is also occurring in other markets? Okay, now I'm going to do another video on oil, but even that's moving down. Everything's moving down. And that's because we're getting to that point in time now where the waves have performed their corrections sufficiently enough to basically head into the next leg lower. So if we're looking at this right now, I did say that we did see a CDE pattern in this area right here. Okay, right here. This is a very critical portion of the move, which is a very fast end to a correction, which is why a lot of people tend to think that corrective processes are just ABCs. Because if you go to the previous move, right, the one that I call A, like if you're an Elliotician, you're going to say potentially, if you assume this was a zigzag, which is it's a type 2 expanded zigzag, so therefore it looks a bit drawn out. But let's just say, Ellioticians saw this as a zigzag. The reason for that is like the reason why Ellioticians tend to think ABC is all that's in a correction, and it's because of this, right? It's because you see a move up and then you see a move down. Okay, it's a very basic way to look at the market. A correction's done, you start to move lower, so which is fine, but it doesn't really help you with levels, and especially if you want a futures trade and short that sort of thing, it doesn't really help you understand where you should put your stop. And I think that's pretty important if you're trying to short something. You want to have, a line in the sand, and you want to have several lines in the sand, not just one, maybe two or three, down to the smaller degree. So if we zoom back to this area, right, it's pretty clear that this is the end of wave B, which means wave C is 5-wave move moving down. We've got wave 1, we've got wave 2, and as you can see, I've already labeled what is the next move. So if I was to go into more detail, I would do this. All right, I would put wave 1 here, which is the basically third of a third wave down, right? And that's why you can see that this price is starting to get sharper, is for that very reason, right? Uh, Wave 1, wave 2. Okay, so it's very interesting to note when you get these moves, like wave 1, 2, 1, 2, right? You get 1, 2. See how 2 ended higher, and then you get wave 1, 2. See how wave 2 ended lower. You're getting weaker and weaker as you go, right? So I did say if you wanted to short this, your stop goes here. I said it in my previous video, even though it was an overview video, I gave you a lot of detail, right? But did you actually pick up on it, and did you actually use it to your advantage, right? I surely did. And that's because I understand the waves, and you're not going to really take a risk on something that you're listening to someone on the internet say, right? You're really not going to do that. But if you actually know what you're talking about, because you know it yourself, not just listening to someone on the internet, then you'll probably most likely take that chance yourself. Okay, so this is actually very typical of an expanded correction, right? And I call this basically a type 1 expanded correction because, yes, the correction expanded below the start of wave 1, but it came back to around the area of wave 1, and that's significant in RES wave. Okay, and then we had this slow step down It's like a 1, A, B, C, D, E, 3. So this is where things start to get a little bit crazy, because you're going to start to see impulsive moves to the downside increase in, in basically sharpness, ferocity. It's just going to get pretty. It's going to get pretty bad. It's going to be a bloodbath. I don't think there's going to be any Santa rally this year. I'm sorry, kids out there. But let's be real. This is a corrective part of a bear market correction. What we've seen recently. So lower prices are basically almost guaranteed, right? But just take that with a grain of salt. Everything's based on probabilities, right? Nothing's 100%. But you know, given that the waves are pretty clear, and there is a way to read them, this is actually very interesting, and heading down. It will most likely head down towards my 0.0044 target, right? 0.004444 target. And I do believe that I will buy some XLM when it hits that point, because more than likely we are looking at a zigzag pattern unfolding. And what gives me more, how can I say, confidence in that prediction is my recent analysis on the US dollar. Okay. Once we hit that low, I do believe we will see 5 waves up, right? We will see 5 waves up in XLM. And that will be interesting, because the first thing that's going to happen once we get to that low is that we're going to see a zigzag in the US dollar. Okay. So interestingly enough, I'm saying that we're going to see a zigzag up in XLM, right? So this wave here will be directly related to the first corrective zigzag that we see in the US dollar. That's my opinion, right? Now, how big it goes, how large it gets, it just depends, right? This is just an example. I'm not saying it's going to be this big, right? But at the same time, we're looking at a wave 3 zigzag in the US dollar. We're looking at the midpoint at the B wave correcting, right? So the first wave could be a fairly large zigzag, or it might be a bit smaller. It doesn't matter, because you can still count the waves and you can see what's happening. And also you can see what's happening in the US dollar, and then you can combine analysis, and you can, use all these other charts to help you. Okay. And that's what I'll be doing. It's exactly why I posted all these videos after my break of about 2-3 months. I posted all these videos so that you can understand why I'm making the assumptions that I'm making. Okay. It's not something that I'm pulling out of a hat. It's not something that I'm making up on the spot. Right. So this is basically just a recap on the last video with a bit of evidence that wave 3 down has begun. So hopefully you found this video interesting and informative. Thank you for watching.